Calling from
I am so disappointed in Tom Perez.
324 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Tom. I think that's probably me.
Yes, it is.
Hi, Tom. Yes, sorry. You threw me to 3-2. Hi. Yeah, this is James calling from Brussels in Belgium.
Oh, hello, James. Welcome to.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome. Hi.
Thanks. First-time caller, and also first off, I think a shout out to Michael's new show. Very much enjoying it. Very, very interesting stuff. So, Sam, I work as a lobbyist in Brussels for the last 7-8 years, and I've recently come into contact with your U.S. Lobbying system, which is pretty horrific, I got to say. And to me, the root cause of so many of America's problems seem to be traced back to how you finance your campaigns, and the fact that essentially, you give people like my counterparts in D.C. the possibility to walk into a politician's office, and rather than have, only the strength of your argument and the merit of your cause, instead it's a case of, be a real shame if in the next election we were to finance your opponent because we really like you, so we think you should vote in favor of this.
May I ask you a question?
I mean, that seems...
I'm sorry. No, continue. Please continue. Just hold on one second.
So that seems to be a root cause of your problems. I'm just wondering if you feel the same way, and also, do you think how that resolve itself is with your version of the left and right kind of universally voting for the same candidate that's promised campaign finance reform, and then afterwards kind of finding out that they actually agreed with each other?
All right. Well, all right. Let me get to that part of it second, because we now have some constraints that come from the Supreme Court in terms of some aspects of campaign finance. And what you explained is exactly what Sheldon Whitehouse told me, I guess probably now 5 years ago, was that it's not just about the money you get; it's about the threat that they're going to spend it in favor of your opponent or just against you. So wait, but tell us this: so how does lobbying? Are you not allowed? What are the? We're aware of our system. How does it work in the context of the EU? Are you not allowed to contribute to campaigns? How are campaigns financed there? What are the major? When you were introduced to our system and you were sort of shocked, what were the major pillars of that system that were surprising to you, that were different from the one you work under?
Okay. I guess first off, it's important to keep in mind that, each 28 member state, soon to be 27, has their own system of how that's done. At national level, it's not great. Certain countries are better than others. So, there is financing of campaigns, but not even close to the kind of scale which you seem to see in the United States. It is much more local funding and this type of thing. At EU level, it operates very differently, where our lobbying problems are not so much on the money funding side of things, and more how many lobbyists you can buy for your money. And if you have a second, I'll illustrate it with an example.
Please.
A few years ago, there was legislation on tobacco packaging and this type of thing going to and I was going down for something in Parliament at the time, and I remember looking around going, geez, I know that guy and I know her, and what are they all doing here? And then I realized that they were all here for the exact same thing, which is that they had all been funded by Philip Morris to go down and lobby on something. So at EU level, there is no financial pressure. There's certainly no threat of removing funding or backing the other candidate. But what you do have is a skewed perspective system. So imagine if you're a politician and you have a dossier on the table in front of you, and 500 people come in and say, this is terrible, this is going to hurt agricultural farmers, and our tax is going to go bust, and this kind of stuff. And you got 50 people coming in saying, this is fantastic, the healthcare cost massively offsets the tax revenue that's been brought in, all this kind of stuff. You're going to go, just naturally as a human being, you'll go, well, I got 500 people telling me this, and I got 50 people telling me this other thing. Right. I'm not so sure here. But if you were able to rapidly trace that all 500 people were actually funded by Philip Morris, and 50 people actually represented a diverse of different stakeholder groups, you'd go, actually, it's not 500 versus 50, it's 50 versus 1 here.
Right.
And, so that's the kind of system that we have. Problem we have at the moment is a lack of a transparency register, a compulsory transparency register, and an accessible one. So law firms will kind of hide behind the notion of confidentiality in order to get around that. And I think politicians are trying to overcome that problem currently. What shocked me about the US system is coming into a contact with a few people where, you realize very quickly they're not lobbyists. They've got no fantastic strategies or anything. They've got no win-win for your client, society, and the politician, which is what you're supposed to design. Otherwise, you just can't sell it, right? Because no one cares if you're representing a company that's got a multinational billion-dollar company or a small science organization. You're equal to the politician. They just want to know what your idea is and how it benefits them, how it benefits society. If you don't have that, get out of my house. And that has to be the way it functions. But with you guys, it seems to be the case of the guys were complaining not about, I couldn't get that meeting or that type of stuff. They'd be like, I'd push for more money to fund this governor's campaign, but I just can't compete with the insurance company here that's putting, $200,000 into a local election. And they're kind of going, Jesus. I mean, if that's the case that they're operating under that system, how on earth is just, Joe Blogg supposed to be able to compete with, here's what I think, and just put forward his opinion as a citizen? So, I mean, that money element of how the campaigns are financed seems to me to be everything, because it's not the case where politicians aren't serving.
How are your campaigns financed? Or is it, how is your campaigns financed? That is different. Just a point of clarification. Do you mean like how do I get paid, or how do politicians? No. How do the politicians finance their campaigns? Like why are not? Certainly there are huge money interests in Europe. Why aren't they coming in and buying politicians in the same way that or buying influence? I should say, using money as influence. Why is that not happening?
Sure. There's a lot of restrictions, mostly in Western Europe, on that kind of practice. So there is the kind of caps and things like this. And most of the money for the types of elections that you'd be familiar with are all funded through party membership. So people buying into party membership and things like this. Certainly in countries like Italy and to a lesser extent Eastern Europe, there's a major aversion to lobbying out of a history of that type of cronyism of essentially, you help me out here and I'll make sure that you become the head of a company once you retire and stuff like that. So that practice still goes on, and there's still suspicion of that, and rightly so, until those rules tighten up. But it's certainly not on the scale that I've noticed, and the institutionalized scale that happens in the U.S.
Well, all I can tell you is give us some time. We will corrupt you. And so I appreciate the call and the insight. Very interesting stuff.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, we need time. We're still, relatively speaking, a fairly young country. We're going to need just a little bit more time to export our corruptive sense of public good.
I'm sure that the Koch brothers have some plan for it.
Actually,
after you refeudalize.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos.